Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, welcome to Attitudes with Andy. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate so much for listening. Today, if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, whatever platform, and you're seeing the video, you're probably like, Andy, what? You're wild. Where are you at? I'm at a studio on the sunny coast for a one-hit wonder podcast with Miss Riley May. So let me introduce you to our guest. So hold on to your hats because we've got an extraordinary guest. Riley May is a firecracker of a mindset and business mentor who's taken the industry by storm. At the ripe young age of 22, she's already achieved incredible success, generating a whopping $600,000 in revenue last year alone. And let me tell you, she's just getting started. But here's the kicker. Riley isn't just about the numbers. She's on a mission to help people break through their limiting beliefs and achieve their wildest dreams. With her expert guidance and infectious energy, she's changing lives left, right, and center. And trust me when I say you're going to want to hear everything she has to say. What's more, Riley isn't your typical business coach. She's got a heart of gold, a contagious sense of humor, and a genuine passion for helping people succeed. So get ready to have some fun and learn some valuable insights as we dive into the story of how she built her empire of a business. Welcome, Riley.
Oh my God. Thank you. That was probably the best intro I've ever received. So I love that. Thank you. And thank you for having me on the potty.
My pleasure.
I'm happy to be here.
As soon as I knew I was coming to the coast, I was like,
it's happening.
Let's go.
And we made it happen. So it's good. I'm excited for our chat today.
We did. You probably feel comfortable because we're in your studio.
Yeah, this is my studio. So this is my chair, my spot, my mic. I feel good.
Oh, I didn't even notice that you sat in your...
Yeah, this is my chair. Yeah, I'm comfortable. This is good.
Yeah, I love that. So... There's many questions I have here, but the first question I would love to know is, actually before I start, I would just like to say, business mentor and business coaching, I was one of those people who were like, cringe, who would do that? And then I saw you post about your like aligned baddie 8-week course, and I was like, who would do that? You know, like very resistant, because a lot of people ask like, oh, why'd you do it? And I'm like, because I felt resistant as hell to do it. And I was like, oh, please, what does she know? You know, all the ego things coming up. Totally. And then I was like, oh, there's probably a reason why I'm feeling resistant to doing that. Anyway, long story short, we did the 8 weeks. It was amazing. It was life-changing. A lot of people have noticed on my podcast, there's been a different Andy. Anyway, so I just wanted to put out there, guys, that like this shit is real and it's so freaking good. And it's like way better than I ever expected it to be. Not that I had any expectations, but it was wow.
Yeah. And that's even a testament to you for leaning in when there's resistance to lean in, because it's so much easier to be triggered, be activated, resist something, not do the thing, judge it, whatever, than actually leaning in and putting yourself in proximity there. And you did it and it was good, and you're reaping the benefits of that as well. So I loved having you in that space, and it's just cool to see even where you were 2 months ago to where you are now. And it's like there is just such an evident shift in perspective in the way that you even lead your life and yourself and it's just cool. You've noticed the shift and that's cool alone. So it's cool.
Thank you. I love how I was trying to compliment you and then you just like Uno reverse.
Uno reverse. This is what I see in you, but it's really cool. And it's just, I think, really interesting as well. Like that perspective alone, because it is, I would say, fairly new, particularly in Australia, like the business coaching and just the coaching space in general. And it's so easy outside looking in to be like, what is going on in this world? And it is really a different world. But once you're in it and you get a taste for it, you actually realize what it's about. And it's typically not what we immediately like assume that it is. So it's cool.
It's very cool. Yeah, we're cool.
We're cool. We're good. We're just out here doing nothing.
So the first question I have for you is, you lead people a lot. You help mentor people a lot. What was kind of like your childhood like, and have you always been a natural leader and like in the self-development world from a young age? Like what's that been?
Good question.
Thanks.
Yeah, I like that. So I guess for me, from a very young age, I was someone who was followed, I would say. And when I think about that, I wouldn't necessarily say followed literally, but followed in the sense that people were curious about what I was doing, who I was being, what I was achieving. And naturally, I would say people gravitated towards me, and I just stepped into being someone who led either groups or spaces or friendships and things like that. And I would say it's funny because in one point, it's been a massive part of my work in actually dissolving a lot of things that I've had to work through and overcome rather, because of, you know, being sort of like that natural leader from a young age. But at the same time, I think it's a huge testament to why I'm in this industry and why I do what I do now. And I wasn't always business coach and mentor. I started as a PT, and then I moved into online coaching, mindset coaching, and now more business mentorship solely. And that has been a very natural progression, building my online business and then moving into mentorship. But I think I've always backed myself, and I can never remember a time in my life where I wasn't competitive or I didn't want to win or I conformed to the norm and things like that as well. So I would say that I've been not so much a leader in terms of, oh, everyone's following me, but a leader in my own life, where I've always done from quite a stubborn standpoint what I've wanted. And I think that's definitely been a huge contributor to where I am now, down to, you know, I think back to being young, and if mum was to say, Riley, unpack the dishwasher, it was like, no, I'd be waiting until I was ready to unpack the dishwasher. Okay. So it was almost like that out of spite, like, don't tell me, because I would have done it myself. And I definitely lead with that now, where I'm like, I'll do things for as long as it's my idea, but don't swoop in and tell me what to do. So I almost feel like I had to work for myself, because I just don't know how I would have gone being told what to do. Yeah. And that's really like the catalyst for that, I think.
Yeah, I was literally about to say, you must be a really bad employee. And I think that's the worst thing to be. I always say, like, I'm a terrible employee.
Yeah.
You just don't like being told what to do. Yeah.
No. Yeah. It's so funny. I'm very much like my dad in that sense. And I always saw him, you know, run a business, and it was almost as if I never saw anything else for myself, as if there was no other option. It was almost as if like, well, what would I do if I wasn't running my own business? And it wasn't as if I kind of had, I guess, like direct clarity on what that business would be, but I knew it would evolve, and I knew I would always work for myself. And it's gone the way it's gone. And now I'm here. So it's cool.
Cool. Okay. So I'd love to kind of work backwards, which, by the way, I was doing some math before I came in.
Love that.
$600,000 in 1 year is, I'm pretty sure, like $12,500 a week. Like, that is an insane amount of money, especially at 22. Were you 21 last year? Obviously.
Yes, yeah, I was 21 last year.
Guys, we're really good at maths. Yeah. Okay, so that's a lot of money. You finished school and then you became a PT. Like, what was your journey from? Because I know a little bit of your story, but you know, the people need to hear the progression.
They need the context. Yeah. So for me, I didn't like school, and come grade 10, I wouldn't say that I was naughty. I would just say that I didn't like to go to school much. So I was passing, I was doing well. I was quite academic in the sense that I did well at school, but in terms of actually going to school, I lacked in the actual application of being there. So that was sort of me. And with that, I decided to move school in grade 11 and 12 to like a state school close to me, because they allowed me to do a traineeship for my Cert 3 and 4 to become a PT. So for me, that felt like, yep, that's in alignment. That's what I want to do. I don't want to be at school. I don't want to be in a classroom. I don't like learning that way. So that kind of allowed me to be out of school like 2 to 2.5 days a week, which was like chef's kiss, stunning. I was like, yeah, all about that. So I was a qualified PT before I finished high school, and I just moved straight into it. So I was already PTing during grade 12, and I also was doing coaching as well for surf lifesaving. So that was sort of like my two jobs, I guess, in high school. And then coming out the back of grade 12, I was like, well, why don't I start my own PT business? I had gone to uni for about 5 weeks and decided this is not my jam. It's not what I want to do. No, I spent the entire time planning my PT business. And and then I went off on my own and started my PT business and did that for all of 2019, and then come 2020, COVID had hit. So I almost got kind of forced at that stage to move into the online space. And I already had that in mind come end of 2019. And then I was predominantly online and doing my thing there. I was charging, I think, like $10 a week when COVID hit for like this group program that I was running. And it was honestly just fun for me. I was just so deep in that grind and hustle of just like doing my own thing. I honestly saw earning $200 a week in my business as like, I fucking made it. Yeah. Like that was my perspective. I'm like, I've made it because I have 5 clients paying me $30 a session for an hour. And that is like, I'm good.
Yeah, because you generated that yourself.
Totally.
So cool.
Totally. And I had just left school, so that was just wild to me that I could work for myself, work my own hours. I was working really, really hard, like very, very long hours. But it was just exciting.
Hours/day?
Yeah. So I would get up around like probably 3:45, 4. And I'd do my PT in the mornings right up until say like 11:30. I'd have about 3 hours during the day where I'd do my online work, and then come afternoons I was working at F45 at the time because they had offered me a job. So I would go to F45 from I would have to like pull back my calendar, but I think I would go around 1:30 train, and then I would coach from 3 till around, I think the last class was 6:30, get home at 7:38, and that was...
And pass out.
And pass out. Dinner, go to bed, and I'd come home sweaty and just a mess from my day. But I love those days because in reflection, I had to work really hard. And I think it's easy to see people where they are in their success or in what they've built and go, oh, it's easy for you. When I'm like, no, I have worked every single day, an hour arguably since I left school, and I have been so focused on building a business. And that's what's required. And I think that's a really important part when it comes to building a business, where I feel at times there can be a little bit of entitlement moving into the coaching space, where it's like, oh, I just want to come in and I want to earn all this money and I want the clients to come to me, when it's like, that's not how it fucking works. Like, you do have to apply yourself. You do have to have that grit and resilience. And I think that goes for any industry and any business, where having a business is not easy. There is that initial grind, and that initial grind can be a 3 to 4 year period, but it's so worth it in the long run. And that's kind of how things progress, where I had actually scaled my online coaching business for health and fitness, and it turned into mindset towards the end. And I was doing really high cash months, and I got to around 50K cash months in that, before I ever looked at becoming a business mentor. And I knew it was my long-term goal. And I would say I almost got kind of not even pushed into it, but just like very easily encouraged by women in my DMs just asking for mentorship for business. So it was something where I just thought, well, if not now, then when? And people are literally asking for this service based on the business that I've built, and the timing just felt really right. So that's when I moved into solely mindset for a stint of last year, which was 2022. And then come mid-year, I was in business mentorship solely for private mentorship, and still doing the mindset sort of like, it'll just always exist within business because it's such a huge part of obviously personal development and running a business.
Yeah, stunning. Fuck, there's so much in there that I want to unpack. Quick question though, do you still do your gym stuff, or do you just do mindset and business?
Yeah, no more gym stuff anymore. So that would have ran up until like roughly last year rather. And then I kind of cut all that. And it was just a slow progression of actually kind of shifting who I was on the scenes, and starting to relate more to business conversations, business content and things like that. And then that was kind of just dwindling out behind the scenes as well. So it made the transition easy, not kind of going like cold turkey on fitness and online coaching and then hard into business. It was just a very natural progression, and now I'm only in the business space.
Yeah, okay. And that's just what you prefer to do?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I loved online coaching and I loved that space for the years that I did it, but my passion is definitely more mindset and business. I love business. I love talking business. I love building a business, and I think when I reflect, like my favorite part of the last 4 years has been building the business, over what I was actually teaching and what I was actually coaching, as much as that is a massive passion. And, health and fitness is still a huge part of my life. All of my private clients, even in a business sense, very much align with my goals when it comes to health and fitness as well. So that's still kind of like an undercurrent, I would say, in coaching, but it's not what is being coached on.
Yeah. So I was going to ask this later on, but you already brought it up. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about like the hustle culture. And I'm not talking about like toxic hustle culture of like, not sleeping and stuff like that. Like obviously you need to look after yourself, but I really liked how you said like you do have to put in the work, and a lot of people are entitled. So is that something that comes up quite a lot? Like people will buy your, coaching and think like, oh, I can just start doing it and I'll just start making $600,000 in 1 year. Is that something that comes up quite a bit?
Yeah, I think there's almost, how would I put this? Like a movement, a trend or whatever in the industry now where I think coaching really blew up, as in like, you know, online coaching blew up last year in every single aspect. And I think a lot of people saw that and were like, oh my God, I want to become a coach. I'm just going to start a coaching business for mindset or PT or whatever it may have been, without actually considering what's required of you to build a business, but actually be a coach, be a mentor, have the grit, have the resilience and all of the things. And again, that goes beyond just having a coaching business. That's just having a business in general, right? And I think a big part in that is being a little bit blind potentially to what is required of you, and then feeling like a little bit of a victim when things don't go the way that you potentially think they're going to go. And I think it is really, really important that when you are moving into building any business or just having any goal, that you do have that passion, that genuine drive to actually create impact ultimately, right? Because yes, money's great. I love money. I love talking about money, but it was never the goal. Like I said, when I was earning $200 a week, I was genuinely so fucking happy, so happy. And I remember sitting down with my dad one day, and it was so cute, really. I used to sit down on Fridays and invoice all my clients, like by hand. I did that yeah, literally, like I would write the invoices. Yeah, I know. And this was only a couple of years ago. So it just shows though, your lack of knowledge and awareness, and how, like, from a scalability standpoint, like you're handwriting invoices on a Friday, like it doesn't make any sense. But I'm also always like, wow, I fucking did that. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, I did that, and that it's just amazing hindsight to have. And it's a part of the journey. It's a part of the story. And I remember sitting down with my dad and going, wow, like if I get X amount of clients at $30 a week, I'm going to earn $1,000 a week. And I was just so stoked on that. And I couldn't believe that I was doing that. It just felt like the most surreal thing in the world. And yeah, I think it's just having that awareness moving in that it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be this seamless journey. But if you're willing to put in the work to invest in yourself, your business, like that's a huge component as well, then you will go the long term. You'll have that longevity in here. But if you're moving with entitlement to any business and just expect it to take off, no wonder things feel hard after 3 months into business, right? Because it's like you can't have that level of entitlement. Like the amount of free things I've done, free masterclasses, free programs, PDFs, value on Instagram. I've showed up every single day for 5 years. Like there's so many things where I'm like, it takes time and it takes building brand and community and all these different things. And it's just really, really important to have that awareness moving in.
Yeah, I love it. And I agree with all of that. And I also think there is nothing more satisfying than like working hard. Literally, like if it just all came easily, it'd be so boring.
100%. I think about that all the time. And it's so true. Like I always think about it like this, right? So I get my car cleaned and sometimes I get in it after it's cleaned and I'm like, oh, I don't care to keep this clean, in the sense that I didn't clean it. Right? And there's a difference when you clean your car. You're like, wait, watch the sand when you get in it, or don't chuck that thing in the back seat, because you're more hyper vigilant to like, oh, I don't want to get my car cleaned because I worked hard to get it clean in the first place. So every time I get my car cleaned, I'm always just noting that part of myself that's a little bit more lent back in like, oh, I can just like get it dirty the next day, or it doesn't matter if there's sand on the floor because I didn't physically have to put in the work to make that thing clean and to make that thing beautiful, or whatever it may be. So same goes for anything in life. It's like if you get given something, the product feels different, right? The outcome feels different compared to doing that thing yourself. And I think it's just interesting when you do think of very surface level examples like a car as an analogy to be like, yeah, it hits different when you actually have to work for something.
Yeah. No, definitely. I love that analogy. And like you'll listen to interviews with highly hyper successful people and they will all talk. This is what I've noticed. The common factor is they'll all talk about the journey to getting to where they were was actually the best bit, and like the building phase. So because when I first started this podcast, I just kept looking at the numbers and I was like, oh my God. Yeah. And then I was just like, just forget about the numbers. I was like, just enjoy it. And then as soon as I was enjoying it, that's when like, you know, it starts to grow and then, I don't know, it's just so much better when you're just enjoying the journey. Better. I always think about like future me and where I'm going to be at. And then I'm like, I'll look back and be like, this was the best bit, like growing.
It is.
Yeah.
The journey.
Yeah,
the journey. It's what is success without the journey? Like what is the result without the journey? It's so true. It's like if you're not growing and evolving and expanding and learning, what's the point of the outcome? Like the result's never going to feel good. And I feel like in the last year, I've had so many milestones and so many things that I've hit in terms of financial goals and just, goals within business as well, of things that I wanted to do or achieve. And they don't even feel that good, right? It's really interesting where what you think a certain goal will feel like when you get there is not what it feels like when you do it.
I'm actually not surprised that you said that, because a lot of business people say, you think once I hit 100K or 500 or 1 million, like then I'll just feel so satisfied and whole. And it's just like, you won't. And that's okay. That's why you got to enjoy the journey. That's why a lot of, Alex Hormozy, love him. That's why he always says like business is a game. Because it's not like you just hit a milestone and you're like, all right, I'm done. Riley Mayer's hit 600K, I'm done.
Yeah, not even. And not even kind of. And that's the funny thing where it's, what would it have been last year? So I was sort of moving from consecutive 35-ish K months, and then I moved to a company and I hit a 75K month. And
wait, what do you mean you moved to a company?
So I was a sole trader and then, transitioned to a company. And then, and not that was the catalyst for having high cash months, but that was kind of where I was at in business. And I remember thinking like, wow, when I hit a 50K month, I'm going to feel like I've made it. When I hit a 70K month, 100K month, whatever it may have been, and I hit a 75 coming off the back of consistent 35. So I skipped a lot of milestones that I thought I would go through. And it's just funny. Like it does not feel like what you think it's going to feel like. Arguably, that was the hardest month of my life.
Wow. Why was that? Because you were kind of like, wait, what?
Well, just processing a lot behind the scenes, and then hitting that goal, you kind of think to yourself, like, I'm going to feel like I've made it, or I'm going to feel like I'm done, or that I've just hit this level of success and I'm untouchable, or whatever the story may be. And I remember it would have been around January last year, my mentor at the time asked me, what's a goal? What's a monetary goal that feels like it's so out of reach for you? And I was thinking about it, and I said to her, 70K month. Like if I did a 70K month, I wouldn't do a 70K month. Like that was my mindset. I was like, if I did, hypothetically, but there's no way that I could or would. And then you do it and you go, what would it be like to hit a 100K month, right? The goalpost moves.
The goalpost moves, yeah.
So it's just very, very interesting. And even now it's funny because I'm like, last year was great, but I'm just getting started. Like that just feels like the tip, of the iceberg, where I'm like, I had an amazing year, but it doesn't even nearly feel complete. Yeah.
And is that like a much better way to look at things? Does that excite you more than just like, oh, I'll be fulfilled when? Like you're aware that that's actually a trap.
Well, that's exactly it. Like it is a trap, because if we settle in, I think a lot has to do with conditioning, right? And even like to take it a bit deeper.
Oh, let's do it.
Let's just do it. It's a lot of conditioning, right? Where it's like once upon a time, I thought earning $100,000 in a year was like, I've made it. If I make 100K in a year, I can live X life. I can have X house. I can go on X amount of holidays. Like that's the goal for me. I was like, wow, like if I could do that, I'm good. And then you do that, and then you do 200, and then you cross 300, and then you cross 400, and then it keeps going, and you go, oh, I could earn a lot of fucking money here. And it's not even about the money. And I think that's a really important thing to remember, where it's like, I have normalized earning a lot of money. I've normalized people in my world earning a lot of money. And I think it's such an important conversation to have and to normalize, because based on conditioning, a lot of the time we don't give ourselves permission to desire having money, to desire grinding, to desire building a business. It's like that permission slip gets to exist and you get to want to earn money. And I think that's a really, really cool thing to anchor into. But it's never done. And when you look at your conditioning around money and what you think is accessible to you, it's just really interesting that once you break that glass ceiling, the limit doesn't exist, right? The 100K that I thought would be the most profound thing to ever hit in my life, that doesn't even touch the surface now. And not in terms of like a greed thing, but in terms of what's accessible to me. There's no cap on money in the world. There's no cap on what you can earn. And the minute you just realize that, you've got evidence of that, you can anchor into that. I'm like, even $1 million, that's amazing money, but it's not the limit. It's like anything is possible. And I think realizing that, trusting that, knowing that, it changes your perspective on what is success.
Would you say you're fulfilled?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm fulfilled in the sense of I'm not fulfilled and settled. I'm fulfilled because I love the way I live my life.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're always learning and growing.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put words into your mouth.
that's exactly it. It's like if I'm not growing, if I'm not eating better food, if I'm not improving my quality of sleep, if I'm not training well, if my body's in pain, then I'm not fulfilled. So it's like if I can create a life for me where I as a human I'm getting better and better and better and better and better, and I happen to be creating more impact and I happen to earn more money, cool, that's a byproduct. But me as a human, I'm fulfilled. And cool. I think that's fulfilled but never satisfied.
Ooh.
That's the way I would put it.
So when you achieve something, say not monetary, but you've impacted X amount of lives, or something like not money related, but you've done something good, do you celebrate yourself, or do you go, okay, what more can I do?
No, celebrate for sure.
You do.
Yeah, absolutely. But not celebrating in a sense of like, oh, I'm settling for this. Like this is the cap. I'm only ever going to have 30 people in a program. I'm only ever going to make 600K. I'm only ever going to go on one holiday. Like whatever the story is, it's like, I'm so fulfilled in that and I'm so happy with that and I'm so proud of myself and I celebrate that. But I'm not done.
Yeah. So you're like, go queen.
Yeah.
Let's
literally.
go.
Yeah, go queen. What's next?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would love to know what is, if you happen to know it, the answer to this, what's the total amount of money you've invested in your own personal development?
Oh, Andy. Last year, 180.
Fucking hell. Just last year.
You
paid wait.
$180,000.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. You're like $180?
$180,000.
Yeah. And this year, so far, I'm going to say $140,000.
That's incredible. I love this. So what was the first kind of big investment you made, and where were you at, and like how did it make you feel?
Sick.
Love?
Absolutely sick. It was the beginning of 2020. I was a year into business at that stage, and I had this pull of like, I left school and I don't know how to run a business, right? I had this moment of like, I'm actually just winging things here. Like I've got no idea what I'm doing. I had no website for 2 years. Like I was doing whatever I was doing to make things work, which was actually perfect. But I had this pull of like, I want a business coach. And it was very, very new in, I'm going to say Australia. Like you couldn't really find many business coaches at that point, very heavily like American based, which was amazing, but it was new. Like it wasn't a norm that coaches had coaches, and that wasn't really a thing in my world as of yet. So I remember looking on Instagram and I went, business coaches, and all these coaches came up and I literally just scrolled and I'm like, that one, that's my coach.
I want that one.
The decision was honestly that deep, and I had messaged her and I said, hey, how do I do coaching? I can't even quite remember what I had said. And it was 6 months of private mentorship. I mean, 6K rather, for 6 months of private mentorship.
Okay.
And I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
That to me felt so scary and such a stretch. Like, I'm just going to pay this person $6,000. Like, what are they going to give me? What am I going to get? What's going to change? What's the return on investment? Like, all of these things going through my head, and everyone in my life that loves and cares for me was like, do not do this. Like, this is not a good investment to make. Like, who is this girl? What's she going to give you? And I committed to the investment, and I called her a week later and I was like, hey, change of mind, like I'm actually not going to do it, whatever I had said. And she's like, I'm actually going to hold you to your commitment, and you're going to do it. And I did. And at that time I had, in all honesty, I'd saved a lot of money, probably around like $50,000 at the time, but I had been saving every single cent in my business to the point where like I would spend $50 out of $1,000 a week, like that type of saving. So I would just put everything away. So it wasn't that I was earning all of this money and it was compounding. It was like, no, I just didn't spend anything.
Yeah. What were you saving for anything in particular?
House.
Okay. Yes.
Which is so funny. But saving for a house at the time, and yeah, my perspective on that's like another episode in itself. But saving for a house. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to put 6K of my 50 into this coach. And that was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to spend $6,000. Anyway, fast forward 4 weeks, I invested 15K up front with her for a different container and moved out of home and did all of these things and hired a virtual assistant. So I was just outsourcing, paying coaches. It kind of just really catapulted the outsourcing for me, where I had just been hoarding everything that I earned within my business. And then I was like, you know what? It's going back in. And then I was doing these ones, which was amazing. And that was the first investment, which now I'm like, that's so funny. that 6K sent me, like, it's so dysregulated, but very cool in hindsight.
Are you still with this coach?
No, different coach now. Yeah. But I was with her for a year at the time. Yeah.
Geez. Yeah. You're probably one of her biggest claim to fame.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. But yeah, just a very, very cool experience. It was an entirely new world to me. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I invested in a different mentor that year as well for more health and fitness side of things. And then come 2021, I've invested in my private mentor now, who I'm still with, and done lots of masterminds and courses and masterclasses and things like that as well. And yeah, I've been with my private mentor now for 15 months and I've locked in the rest of the year with her.
Amazing. And what's her name?
Jessie Williams.
Yeah. Heard of her? Heard of her? Oh, Jessie Williams.
Yeah, we love her. She's great.
Yeah, she did like a million in 1 year, didn't she?
I think 1.3. 1.2 or 3.
Sorry.
Yeah.
How it corrects me. 1.3.
300K up. Yeah,
Wow.
no, she did well. Yeah.
What a queen. So what was the first kind of mindset course or live coaching you did outside of your PT? And what was the first thing you were like, all right, this is it. We're gonna do it.
This is what I'm doing. Yeah. So I guess with that first mentor, I really got into more like the energetic side of things. And I really was learning more about like conditioning and programming. And I think it's funny because in hindsight, I always had the language and knew this stuff, but then having the actual language for it, I was like, oh, this is what I do with my clients and this is what I'm actually speaking about and different things like that. So that kind of moved me into that space. And then I did a course through Aruka Healing, which was a lot of like inner child work and somatic healing and things like that as well, which I implemented with clients, which I loved. And that just taught me a lot around like ego and concept of self. And it was kind of NLP. And it was just a lot of different things kind of combined in the one course. And that gave me a really amazing overview of just mindset on a deeper level. But most recent, as in the last 2 years, has been more down the shadow work route. And I love that side of things. So I feel like now it's kind of, my work is like a combination of all parts in a mentorship lens for business as well. But that was kind of that initial phase in the mindset coaching world.
And what was kind of what is one of the biggest things that clients come to you about, or they don't realize that they're facing, but you help them with?
Yeah, I would even say it's a lot to do. And speaking now with like the business clients I work with, of course, we're looking at branding, we're looking at strategy, we're looking at scalability and things like that. But 9 times out of 10, it's got more to do with your mindset, your concept of self, the way you perceive yourself, the world around you, your audience and things like that. And that has a massive impact on your business, right? And the trajectory rather of your business. And it's so easy to look at the tangible, right? Like I need to change this course, or I need to change the way I sell, or I need to change the way I launch. And that is great and it's fine and it's perfect and it's a huge side of business. But a lot of it is energetics. A lot of it is our own work around our conditioning and our programming and money beliefs and different things that actually limit us when it comes to running a business and having the ability to sell and sell well and to launch programs and to just be a really safe and neutral leader for clients moving into your world as well. Because if we don't do the work on ourselves, if we don't understand and know ourselves, it's going to some extent be confusing for our audience, right? If you're confused, so are your audience. And I think a lot of the time we're in this industry and we're in the coaching world. And if we stop growing, stop learning about ourselves, naturally there's resistance there.
What's one of the biggest things you've had to overcome being a mindset coach?
Good one.
If you feel comfortable to share.
Gosh, I feel like the biggest thing, it's so hard because the work never really stops. So it's like, what month? like what month are we talking about, sort of thing. So I would say that God, even recently, would be a lot around actually seeing myself where I'm at and building external awareness, where for a long time I've wanted to kind of, to an extent, play small, which is ironic because I feel like I don't really play small.
Wait, what do you mean? Oh, play small. Sorry, I heard that wrong.
You're like,
I thought you said pace small. I was like, what? Why are we pacing?
Yeah, pace small. No, play small just in terms of, how I'm moving in business and what I'm doing and where I'm actually seeing myself. So there's a part where it's like I see myself as one thing when really I'm actually up here, but I don't fully see myself there yet. So a lot of almost like light shadow work and bringing into awareness things that do happen external of me, compliments that I do get, things that are true, and letting that be reflected in the work I do, the way I move, and what I'm doing within my business as well. So it doesn't necessarily sound super profound or pivotal outside looking in, but a lot comes up in processing things like that.
What's your favorite compliment to receive?
Oh, you've got some good stuff coming my way with these questions. Gosh, let me think. I would say ability to hold a safe space. You know, when someone says to me, like, you hold a really safe space, I'm like, wow.
Aww.
Like, that feels really, really good. And if someone feels safe in my presence, I'm good.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's so important, because how can people, because, you know, you're in a very vulnerable, honest, open space that people kind of need to open up for you to be able to help them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you good at like reading between the lines and seeing through people's bullshit?
I think that comes with holding space, right? Because it's like the more that you can be quiet, the more that you can reflect, the more that you can observe, the better you're going to be able to coach, right? And just actually see patterns and see things. And that's definitely come with doing my own work and a progression over time. But yeah, I think I do have a really good ability to see people and understand people and hear people. And when you know conditioning, you know programming, you can read between lines, you can connect dots. Like that a lot of the time is the work. Like we're a mirror for people and we're reflections. Rather, we are like a soundboard for people is more what I'm saying. So it's like when you come to me with something, I'm going to be more of a soundboard for you to actually come to your own conclusion and see your work in that. And you know, right? It's like we actually all know our own stuff, but we need that person sometimes to be that mirror for us and that soundboard for us. And I think that's really, really important as well to remember that it's like we actually have the power in us. It's just having someone there to bring that power out of you and allow you to see your own power, which is huge.
Definitely. Yeah, the bit where you're like, you already know.
You already know.
When we were at that part of the course and you were like, yeah, you already know. And I was like,
but I don't know. I'm like, but you do know.
And how you said how we'll tend to, especially women, I think, will tend to like go to other people more, not really to get their opinion, but more for validation of like, oh yeah, you should do this. And now I've been catching myself all the time because I realize that I do it to my housemates and I do it to my sister where I'm kind of like checking with them. Like I know what I want to do. It's like I'm checking with them. And I'm like, Andy, stop doing that.
Yeah. Huge piece around self-trust. Like, do we actually trust ourselves to make a decision and deal with the consequences of that decision? Because if we've got people in our corner that supported us, it's not going to feel as bad if it fails because we all decided, not just me.
Ooh, there we go. We're doing some mindset stuff.
Yeah, we're doing some mindset stuff. But it's just interesting, isn't it? Like human behavior where you're like, oh, interesting. Like I actually don't trust myself to support myself or take responsibility if this failed, if this didn't work, if this did work. Like how can I actually create safety for myself? Oh, I'll get people on board.
Bang. There we go. Yeah, okay, I'll stop asking. I tell you a decision I've made without asking anyone.
I love it.
Everyone who's listening to this must be like, Andy, you crazy cat. I thought we had the whole month off because we have season 4 coming. But I've made the decision this whole year we're going to have a guest episode every single week, not doing it in seasons anymore.
I love that.
Did you check with anyone?
No.
Did I potentially Google to see if seasons are better? Yes.
Yes, but you have the self-trust. And it's cool. Like, it's just cool that you're like, oh, I can make that call for myself.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
And here we are.
Here we are. Happy as can be.
I love it.
So I am curious and and I want to be mindful of how I word this, but I'm sure you'll understand where I'm coming from. You're 22. I'm 23. Put it there. We're young.
For us, we're young
as fuck. So do you ever get people kind of being like, who does she think she is? She's that young. She can't be a life coach. Not that you... Do you say you're a life coach?
No, I would... Okay. I mean, I would say just more... It's just gone from PT, online, mindset, business.
Yeah. I mean, life coach is quite an old term as well, I feel. It's also hard because we're like, can we say life coach?
Yeah.
Quite young.
Well, I think there's like actual courses for life coaching. So I feel like I feel like it's almost like you do that course and then you're a life coach.
There we go, guys. Let's be a life coach.
There we go. Yeah.
So do you get a lot of those projections, and do you ever put that in your mind?
No,
do you
actually, I totally do.
Okay.
I don't get those projections. I project that on myself.
Okay.
So this is a me thing. And it's so funny because to some extent it's not a thing for me. And then to another extent it is a thing for me. So it's actually, even back to your question of like, what's been a big thing to process. I wouldn't even say it's like, oh, I'm processing this, but it's a story that comes up for me.
Yeah, okay.
Where I'm like, oh, I'm just noticing I'm the youngest one in the room, or, oh, I'm just noticing I'm the youngest one in this container, or, oh, I just noticed that I'm younger than my client. However, it doesn't stop me from doing what I want to do.
Cool. So you're like, I'm aware of it, but I don't have to believe it.
Totally. And I don't believe it is something that hinders me. Yeah. You know, in the sense that even in business mentorship, it's like, to me, the evidence in anyone that I hire is, what business have you built? Who are you as a human? What life do you live? What are your relationships like? How do you look after yourself? Like, how have you scaled your business? Like, these are the factors that I look at, not, oh, and how old are you?
Yeah.
Right? So it's like with anything, if that's not a factor for me, I need to look at the part where I potentially use the age card as an excuse to either do things or not do things. So I would say for me, it's more of a convenience thing of, I'll pull out the, oh, I'm only young, when it's convenient for me to not do something, versus that actually being a limitation that I face, because it's not a limitation that I face.
Yeah. That's a really good answer. And it's also like whenever, now I've realized, first of all, don't take advice from every single person. Only take advice from people who you want to be like in any area. You know, somebody might have like horrible relationships, but they might be really good with investing. So maybe take their advice in investing. Do not take their advice in relationships. And like when I was considering whether to invest in you, you know, my ego was like, oh, she's so young. Like, you know, what does she know? I'm so sorry. Like, I hope you're okay.
I can handle it. I can hold projections. I'm good.
I'm only saying this because I know that's utter bullshit, and I'm past it now. But then I thought, yeah, but she's ahead of you in the journey of where you want to be. So I was like, well, then she's a great person to learn from. It doesn't matter about her age. It's just like, are they ahead in something that you want to do? And it's like, go learn from them.
And I would even say, it's like, does age play in for a factor for what you can and can't do?
For me?
Yeah.
Not usually, although actually that's a lie, because sometimes on this podcast, like I always preface like, we're learning and growing from other people, because I'm like, I know nothing, like I'm so young, don't learn from me. But then I also do mini episodes where I'm teaching. So it's all good.
Totally.
We overcome it.
Exactly. But isn't it even cool where it's like, of course you were going to project on me, oh, but she's so young, because that's a story for you.
Bang, another mindset. I'm getting called out here in the best way possible.
No, but this is like catching our own thing, right? If I project that someone's too young, naturally I'm going to fear people judging me for being too young, because that's a story for me. If that's not a story for me, I'm not going to project that other people think it.
So true. Oh my God. Yes. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's a lie. I do think about it.
But it's just so, this is why this work is so good though, because you're like, oh, I can see it now. And once you have the awareness, you have the choice to choose different. So for me, I'm like, I actually know my ability to mentor. I know my ability to coach. I know what I've been through in my life that has led me to having the mindset that I do, live the life that I do, whatever it may be. So there's no doubt in my mind that I can coach you from moving to A to B, right? If I couldn't do that, cool, I might pull the age card, but I can do that, right? So it's just not my go-to. It's not my go-to reason or excuse as to why I can't do things, because I choose to not let that be the reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I was wondering, how many staff do you have? Do you have staff?
So I have 2 VAs that work for me at the moment.
2 virtual assistants. One's not enough.
One's not enough. So one works under one and she's sort of my main girl.
God, no way.
Yeah. So now I am actually about to, it's funny you ask this, I'm about to do my first hire tomorrow of all things. So advertise for my full-time business manager role, which will be, I'm very excited. Cool. I'm excited to have someone full-time under my business. So that's going to be cool.
Yeah. Do you get lonely?
In my business?
Yeah.
I would say no. I would say no right now. Is business at times lonely? Yes. Have I got myself in an incredible circle of women in business? I do. So I'm good. And I would say that I have my mentors. I'm in masterminds. I've got incredible friends. My partner's supportive. My parents are supportive. I have a lot of noise around me that's very activating noise. And I love the noise around me. So I'm never lonely in the sense that I've got my clients, I've got my work, I've got my people. And I choose to keep that circle fairly small and in a frequency that I like to operate in.
Yeah. No, that's important. Because I suppose if you... Well, I mean, maybe are you still friends with your friends from school?
No.
Okay. So, and that's probably not because they're terrible people or anything.
No,
it's probably just
all.
you've taken different paths. I'm wondering whether if you were still hanging out with them, 1, if you'd be in the place you're at, but 2, if you would feel a bit lonely because they wouldn't be able to relate or understand what you're going through.
Yeah. It's not, you're never in the business of making people wrong. And I think that's a huge thing as well. It's like no one is right or wrong based on where they're at in their life and their relationships, in their business, in their journey, in their careers, like whatever, that's perfect. But it is important that I believe when you're building a business, it's kind of trailblazer energy. Like you do have your headlights on and that's where you're going. And if you want to keep taking detours, that's perfect, but you're gonna take a longer time to get there. So for me, headlights are on and the only people jumping in my car are the people that are coming with me.
Yeah. And are those, how do you distinguish, you know, if you're like, am I keeping this friend or am I maybe potentially letting them go?
I think it comes back to, right? Like you actually know if someone is holding you back or expanding you. Like to me, it's like, that's it. That's actually the question. I'm like, okay, is this person expanding me or are they holding me back? If they even move into the holding me back, there's just distance created there because you can't have people slow you down.
No, you can't.
You can't.
We got to send it.
We got to send it. And if you want to send it, you need people in your corner that are sending it as well. And it's just important. It's so important to be around people that back you. I really, really believe that. And if you're not having conversations that are elevating you, expanding you in your everyday life, it's like this energy of you're dipping into these expansive conversations and then you're dipping out and then you're dipping in and then you're dipping out. For me, I'm just in.
She's all in.
My whole life is expansive conversations. I was talking to my parents about this last night and I was saying to them, I'm like, it's actually challenging. I find it challenging to be in conversations about, problems or things that people are going through that I actually just don't want to talk about or I don't want to normalize. There's so much that, we normalize in society and the world. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it because I've got nothing to say or contribute because it's not my belief. And that's fine. Like it's so perfect, but does it serve me? It doesn't. So I choose to not be a part of it.
Yeah. Choose bigger problems to have.
Where'd you get that one from?
I don't know. I was telling myself, I'm like, Andy, we've got bigger fish to fry.
Yes, but it's true.
And then when you said we have bigger problems, I was like, oh, that's probably...
I like the fish to fry. That can be your thing. I like that. I like that.
Woo, okay. I'm just going to check. I haven't even checked this one. I'm so interested.
We're just in our riff.
Oh, we are.
I love it.
Holy, I've really asked pretty much all of these. But comparing your schedule to when you first started to where you are now, what is it like? What are your work hours now? What's your balance?
So if I think about when I first started, there's no balance, there's no work life, like you're just working.
Yeah.
It's literally just, you're just working.
And was that fun?
Fun. Loved it.
Right.
Loved it. I think I took during a lockdown, I took 12 weeks almost straight. Like I'm talking, I woke up, I fell asleep, creating an ebook. 12 weeks.
I love this.
Right?
Gary Vee would be really proud.
Weeks, he would. I'd hope so. But I spent 12 weeks creating this ebook and is that scalable? Is that efficient? No, it's none of the things, but I did it and I loved it and I was so proud of it. And that's business. Like there was no work-life balance. I was even laughing with my housemate the other day where I'm like, I used to carry my laptop around with me like, oh, I'm just going to go to the shops quickly, or I'm just going to go to my mum's quickly or whatever. And I bring my laptop because it was like this codependency of, but what if I need to work in the next hour, or what if I need to do something or finish something or send a link or whatever. And that's the fun of it. I'm so glad I had that stage in business, but now I don't work much, to be honest. And it's not in the energy of I'm not working, but the way I see my life now is me going to the gym is work. Me eating good food is work. Me sleeping 8 hours is work. Like I kind of just see me as a human is the work, where it's like people are paying to be in my energy. People are paying to be mentored by me. That means my brain has to be functioning properly. It means I've got to be fit. I've got to be healthy. I've got to be rested. Like I see all parts as my job. So am I working all the time? Yes. Am I working tangible hours at a laptop? I'm not. I pretty much outsource at this stage in business everything outside of course creation, being on live calls and doing trainings, and obviously plugging into Voxer with clients. But my day pretty much looks like me waking up, I go on my walk, I plug into Voxer, come home.
What do you mean by plug into Voxer? For the people like, what the fuck?
What is she plugging into?
Before I started your course, like, everyone was being like, oh, the Voxer chat. I was like, what?
Like, I don't get the
being like, hey, I think this is a group chat. I'm not in.
You're like, I don't get this. Yeah. Well, okay. So Voxer is pretty much just like a WhatsApp or a messaging platform, and you can plug in like walkie-talkie vibes. So it's just like voice noting, messaging.
So elite.
It's so elite. We love it. We love Voxer. So that's sort of my mornings, and then I come home, might do a bit of course creation, or I might do a little bit of content creation. I'll usually sell on my stories, make myself a big breakfast. I might do a masterclass or a course that I'm running, and then I'll probably lay in the sun for a little bit. I'll do some other content creation, and then I'll do some course creation. I'll probably sell again. I'll plug back into Voxer, and that pretty much is my day. And in terms of all the back end payments, Instagrams, all of the things that my team is doing that. So
wait, is your team running your Instagram?
No, not my Instagram, the team Instagram.
I was like, have I not been speaking to you?
You were like, is that not you? No. Everything on my Instagram is word for word mine, posted by me. The team Instagram is run by my team.
Okay. I really like that you outsource.
Everything.
At what point? A lot of people, okay, one of the companies that I do a bit of contract work for, love working for them, but God, the owner of the business who's been running this business for 10 years still does the invoices, like pays the invoices. I'm like, brother, outsource that.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. It changes your entire life and ability to scale your business. Because for me at this stage in my business, and don't get me wrong, there was a time where I was paying the invoices, I was doing the Kajabi backend, I'm website, all of the things, payments, emails, whatever. Now I stay in my zone of genius. And that's where I need my time, energy, attention to be. Because if I'm, in there coaching clients that are paying me a lot of money to be in my world in a private container, but then I'm going back in and trying to fix a website, but then I'm coming back over here, and then I'm back in my emails dealing with, failed payments or whatever. It's a disconnect. It's like, I need to be here because that's what I'm paid to do. I'm not getting paid to refine my website.
Yeah.
So it's just a different level now for me, and that's what feels good. And my graphic design gets done, and podcasting, everything.
I was like, these graphics look great.
Not me. Not me. I do my Instagram posts. Like, I've got some templates, but I kind of play around with that. But yeah, no, everything is outsourced, and that's where I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at what point were you like, okay, it's time to outsource?
So I outsourced well before I should have outsourced, in the best way possible. Financially speaking.
Before you should have outsourced.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I moved business fully online, and I stopped face-to-face PT. It would have been the beginning of 2021, I'm going to say. And I knew I wanted to be online, and I was really pushing the online space, and I was probably earning $900 a week because I had completely cut back my income to move online and to have that period of no face-to-face and just grinding. And I thought, I need help. Like, I actually need help to do things that I don't know how to do. That's when I outsourced to a VA.
When you were earning $900 a week?
Yep.
Love this.
Paying rent, paying mentorship. Like, I was saving maybe $50 a week. Maybe $50 a week. So I was pretty much breaking even, and I knew in my mind, and I've always been pretty like, if I say I'm going to do something, it'll happen. I don't know. I don't give myself the option.
Stubborn.
I'm stubborn. So I said to myself, okay, I'm going to outsource, and mid-year I'm going to do this big launch. It's going to do really, really well, and that's going to be what happens for me moving forward. Like, it's just going to catapult things, and this is the frog that I need to eat right now. Like, this is what I have to do. And yeah, I went from $900 weeks, and mid-year we had our launch, and she'd been working for me for maybe 3 or 4 months. And
part-time or full-time?
No, part-time. So that's the best thing about virtual assistants. You could give them 2 hours work a week, or 12 hours work a week, or 20 hours work a week. Yeah. So,
and are they in Australia or overseas?
Australia. Yeah.
Surprised you didn't go overseas, because you can get more work.
Yeah.
Cheaper.
I don't like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So not that I don't like it, and I don't think it's smart. I think if that works for you, perfect. But for me, like, it just felt good to have someone in Australia, even though it is like at times 6-7 times the price.
So, yeah.
So that's just the way that I chose to do that. And yeah, I went from $900 a week to an $120K launch mid-year.
Love this. I love this.
And that to me was like, this is why you fucking move before you're ready to move. It's sort of the energy of like, don't wait for the thing to be broken to fix it. Fix it before it's broken.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Everyone's there like, fuck, I need to outsource.
Even though like this is the thing with VAs, like, outsource 2 hours a week. If your budget is $100 a week, 2 hours a week outsource. Get them doing something that you don't want to do anymore.
Are they $50 an hour?
Well, more.
Really?
Depends. It would depend. It would definitely depend on who your VA is.
Oh, there you go. All right. VA is like a virtual assistant instead of
Yes.
a personal assistant,
Yes.
right? Yeah. Oh, okay. There you go. Oh, all right. I don't know why I'm getting so awkward.
And she's like, this changes the game for me. Like, interesting.
Somebody emailed me yesterday and was like, hey, would you like me to edit your podcast? I was like, Rob, hello.
Like, yeah, I do. Yeah. Outsourcing, this could be your next level.
It could be. I just enjoy it at the same time. But then I'm like, do we have bigger fish to fry?
Well, this is it.
This is it.
It's just like a discernment piece when you're like, I'm ready. And you potentially might not be like, I'm ready, but you're like, I'm ready. Yeah. I'm this much ready and I have to do the thing.
Okay. All right. Let me just check if there's any other
hot and burning questions.
Hot and burning questions. Literally, we've just nailed this. Okay. Oh, I would actually really love to know. How do you...
I love this laptop situation. I got another one.
I would love to know, what is your definition of success? Someone goes, oh, you're successful.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting because once upon a time I would go on, oh, well, you're rich, right? You're rich, you've built success, you've built wealth. And whilst I still believe that falls under success as, a definition, I'm successful if I'm happy, if I'm healthy, if my body is functioning properly, if my brain is working, if my relationships are thriving, and I'm living the life that I want to live, right? So for me, success ultimately looks like freedom in every sense of the word. Like, freedom for me is number one core value. I want financial freedom. I want time freedom. I want freedom energetically. I want freedom within my relationships, freedom within my routines. And when I have achieved that, I'm good.
Mic drop. That's good. I like it. Yeah, I think a lot of people think it's financial success. But
Yeah.
I agree with all of that because I was trying to define my own version of success as well.
I should flip it on you. What's your definition of success? I'm the interviewer now.
Well, Riley has a podcast, by the way, guys.
I do.
Yeah, go check it out. I would, in the simplest way, it's like doing what you want to be doing and enjoying that thing. Because a lot of people, get to where they think they want to be, and then they're there and they're like, actually, this isn't as good as I thought it was. But then yesterday when I was on my run, I was just running and I was just like, no, I'm successful right now. I was like, I don't need to wait until I'm earning X amount of money from my stuff. Like, I am successful now because I've created a life and a living situation where I get to earn money, but I also get to be flexible. Like, it's a Thursday where on a podcast, where I get to earn good money, but it's flexible and I choose my hours, and then I have beautiful relationships, my health and fitness, and I get to have a beautiful community, and I'm like, it's small, but I love it.
But exactly, like how big does a success have to be? It's all dependent on the measurement and the scale that exists for you. And I think, if I'm living a life in alignment with my values, I've made it.
Bang. You've already made it, yeah. We're both successful.
We're successful. It's a Thursday.
And
we're successful.
I was leaving the house today and I was like, Tuesday. And Dad was like, it's Thursday. I was like, yeah, cool, thanks.
You're like, okay, noted. Love it.
What is one of your goals this year? Business goals and personal goals.
Yeah, business, I would just love to create more impact. Like, it sounds silly, but I would love to scale business. I would love to do more in-person events. I'd love to do more in-person retreats. Just really send it. Like that's kind of the energy where it's not really this one thing that I want to do, but I have a vision for where my business is going, and it's a long-term vision, and I'm excited to be putting things into place to make that actually happen, and really treating my business like a business in terms of, I'm going to employ staff this year and just different things like that. And it's going to be bigger and better and amazing.
And better and better.
Yeah. I was going to go and I was like, I don't know lyrics, but like, I get you. I get you.
Probably really wrong.
No. Yeah. So that's my goal, I guess, business wise. And then personal would be just connection and just enjoying the season I'm in. So my partner right now is overseas, living overseas.
Living there? What's he doing?
Yeah, he's living in New Zealand. So he's studying Maori.
What?
The language.
This is so random.
Yeah, and working over there, which is just, he's back home. Like, he's just in his home doing his, he's just moved home for 9 months. So I go over there next Thursday for 2.5 weeks, and I'm kind of going to be coming and going a lot from New Zealand, and then I'm also going to Europe mid-year, still doing the business thing, and just it's just going to be a lot. So I'm just navigating like the shift in my routine and the challenge, because it's obviously just something that's new, but I'm here for it, and
like,
so far so good.
The shift of routine of like you're going to be in Paris and running a masterclass. And then New Zealand, and just like all the different literally it's just a lot of change. And I think it's so interesting because it's like ego, right, threatened when you're being challenged or things are new, and I'm like most things are new this year. So it's cool to witness myself in all of it and see where I make things a problem when they're not really a problem, or I want to make things bigger than they are, or I'm minimizing things, or different things like that. But overall, I'm just like rolling with the punches essentially this year in the best way possible, and I'm having a great time so far. So I'm excited to get over there and see him. Aww. Because this would have been our longest time apart in 8 years. 8 years you've been dating?
Yeah.
I can't do math. How old were you when you first?
14.
14?
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
The evolution you guys have been through.
Yeah, grade 9 till now.
Wow. Yeah, you must be very excited to see him.
I'm very excited to see him.
Aw, you know what they say, distance makes the heart fonder.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we needed it. But no, it'll be cool.
Surely. Okay, I love that. Okay, so we wrap up each podcast with the fast five. I say fast five, but it ends up
Never
not really being fast.
Yeah, except we riff for 10 minutes.
Yeah, literally, but it's fine. Are you up for this challenge?
I'm going to make it fast.
Acting like you haven't been answering questions the
The whole time.
Okay, the first question I have for you is if you woke up tomorrow, you had $0 dues in the bank, you had 0 followers, all of that, you had to start from scratch. No one knows who Riley May is, but you remember everything you've learned and everything you've done. What would you do to build back your empire in the quickest period of time?
I would get straight back on Instagram. I would get straight into podcasting, and I would be hyper focused on building my community. Like selling, pumping out content after content after content, getting my foot in the door with people and doing things that don't cost me a cent. Yep. As in utilizing my mind, and maybe I need a phone charger so it doesn't die. But that would be all I need.
So pump out free, valuable content to build the community 100%. And build the trust.
Yeah.
And then once you've built it, would you then start selling, or would you have stuff selling?
I think selling would look like free stuff initially, in terms of you're not even selling, but you're just promoting things to get people in the door and giving value. And podcasts, I think, is a really, really good place to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, because then people build trust. Yeah. And they're like, oh, I hear this person every week.
Totally. Yeah.
I trust them.
Yeah, completely.
Okay. Love that. All right. If you could go back to little Riley, just graduated school Riley, what advice would you give her during this journey?
Trust the pull that you have to do what you want to do, and just fucking send it.
Trust the pull.
Yeah, trust the pull and send it.
Love it. Love it. Okay. What is your favorite quote? Or saying?
Choose the better thinking thought.
Bang! I love that. Yeah, that's good.
I love that because it's just,
Yeah, because your brain can sometimes say shit, and then you can go, thank you, brain, can you bring me a helpful thought? And then you can choose the better thought.
Choose it. And humans have the power of choice, and we pretend we don't.
We do, don't we? We have that old chestnut.
Little tool in the toolkit, the power of choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. Are you a reader, actually, before I ask this question?
I'm not, but ask me it.
Okay.
We'll see.
What's your favorite book you've ever read?
Favorite book I've ever read? This is so funny because I reckon I've read like 5 books in my entire life. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Or you can say
Atomic Habits I read.
Classic.
Very early stage personal development.
Yeah.
It's like the entry level.
Yeah.
Loved it.
It's
From
good.
one of the books I read, loved it. So yeah, I'm not a reader. I'm more like podcast vibe, but even then I'm very like, I would say some of my favorite content has been from mentors and coaches I've learned from. So it doesn't really translate into like a book or something, but I need to get a Kindle and I'll get into it. It's just...
Dude, Kindles are the best.
I know. I actually might get one today.
Do it.
I'll do it.
Do you know what? This is so lazy, but my favorite thing about Kindle is that it has a backlight. So you can turn off your lights at night and be reading. And then when you're ready to go to bed, you just turn it off and the lights are all off already.
It's good. No, I love it.
I know that's lazy, but you know when you're tired and falling asleep reading a book, and then just get up and turn the light off.
Well, yeah. And then the lights make you tired. Like I think reading at times has had too much resistance for me. It's like, I've got to hold it up. It's not comfortable on your side. Like this is just transparency, flipping the pages. Like there's just a lot about it that I'm like, but a Kindle.
And you'll need it for your travels as well because it's a lot lighter.
I will.
Than bringing all the books. We've already dusted.
Yeah, we know the things.
Oh, I'm not sure what question we're on. Are we on 3 or 4?
Yeah, 3, I think.
Okay.
I think book was number 3.
Okay. Okay. What is the biggest business failure you've had?
So I don't believe in the concept of failing.
Okay.
Only because I think failure is a construct that keeps us small. And to me, if I walk away from something and I haven't learnt something, then I failed, but I've learnt something from everything I've done. So I can never fail.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with that because I always think like, how is it failing though if it sends you in a different direction? That is where you're meant to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so many of us fear failure But in my mind, if failure can't exist, if it's not a thing, then what do I fear? Nothing.
Fear itself.
Okay. But it's interesting.
So is there something, though, in your business career where you thought it was going to be a quote-unquote success and it flopped?
No.
Oh, shit. All right.
No. And not, it's funny because I don't say that in the sense that like, oh, I've never had something not do as well as I thought, but I've never seen anything I've done as a failure or something that's not worked or not been productive or not been good. I would just say I've always learned something, and it's always, I would just look back at things and go, oh, I could have done that more efficiently.
Yeah.
But it's not a failure.
No,
or even a massive thing that kind of, sent me into a spiral or anything like that. So no.
Okay.
I would just say invest earlier. Like
invest in yourself or
in my business. Yeah, business myself earlier.
Somebody was like, you can invest in the S&P 500 or you can invest in the me.
yeah, SME for sure. Yeah. I'm only at a stage now where I've built the wealth and the money that I have where I'm like, okay, I'll invest in property.
Yeah.
Up until this point, it's all me. I'm my safest bet.
Because I'm with my mind for life.
Totally. If I invest 50K in myself, I can make that 300. I can't guarantee anything else will do that for me. People don't look at it like that.
No, they'd be like, holy freaking schnitzels. Yeah. Do you have a financial advisor?
No.
No.
Not currently, no.
No. But do you have like an accountant that helps you?
Yeah.
Yep.
Outsource. Of course. Yeah. But this year will be the time where I do look to invest in more tangible things.
Yeah, so nice. Like house shopping.
Yeah, house shopping, commercial property. I don't know yet.
Ooh, we'll see if there's any real estate agents listening.
Maybe
hit Riley up. Now you're going to get so many scammy messages.
Yeah, I know. Like, thanks a lot, Andy. I was going to say, I'm like, who's your audience?
They're beautiful. The last question I have for you. So a lot of our listeners, all of our listeners, as I said, are beautiful people. They're not scammy. And they are here because they want to learn and grow alongside with me. So if you could embed a belief or a habit, something in their minds to better themselves, what would it be?
It sounds so silly because I've said it a gazillion times this potty. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself, time, energy, money. Because I think we always think invest with like the monetary exchange or transaction. Like, no, invest in yourself from a time perspective, from an energy perspective. It's like there is so much free content, free resources out there. Are you utilizing them? Are you investing the time and the energy into things that are actually going to serve you and propel you forward, or are you not? And I think we miss that. We miss the part where it's like there are so many ways you can invest outside of money. And when you have the money, invest in yourself.
Yeah, okay. That's cool because you're not saying like go and invest 6K if that's not what you have.
No.
Like, start with what you can afford.
Invest $50 in a masterclass, watch it 100 times until you can make the next investment. Like, it's not always shiny object syndrome and the next best thing and the big thing and the expensive thing. It's like, no, where are you at? What would make sense? And how can you actually move from that place?
Perfect. I'm sorry, I have a follow-up question for the listeners. If they're like, cool, I want to learn for free at first, what are some good maybe podcasts that you like to listen to that they can learn from, apart from the Rally Made podcast that they can learn?
Yeah, I think Do You Fucking Mind by Alexis is amazing.
Oh,
I think,
so good.
She's got incredible just perspectives and opinions and
science.
Yeah, science. Like, it's just amazing. Like, I just love the way her mind works. God, I would have to even just send you a little list, but I feel like just find the people that expand you and just consume it. Consume it, be around it, be a part of the conversations, and just watch your whole entire life change.
Bang. All right, we're going to finish there. Thank you so much.
Thanks
It's been a vibe. I felt the energy just get better and better throughout this podcast because it's the first time Riley and I are meeting in person.
I know.
We've voiced
it doesn't feel like it though.
No,
it does not feel like the first time we met in person.
I was like, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, hey, there you go.
We see each other every week, right?
I know.
Through the Zoom meetings.
Thank you for having me. I've loved it.
My pleasure.
So good.
If people want to find you, where can they find you?
On Instagram, just at Riley May Coaching, and then podcast is Riley May podcast. I was like, no coaching in that
No
title.
coaching
Just
in
Riley
that
May
one.
podcast.
Her podcast is really good. I enjoy it. It's what helped me be like, oh yeah, I want to invest in this person, because it helped me be like, oh, we have very similar values in how we think. I think so.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, cool. So it really did help.
Good to know.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just to let you know.
Amazing.
Because there's so many different coaches out there.
There are.
Thank you guys for listening once again, for clicking on podcast where you're going to learn and grow. You guys are investing right now in
They
yourself.
are.
They are.
Time, energy,
All of the things.
all of the things.
If you guys did get something from it, it would mean the world if you please left a review. You can click the 5 stars if you're feeling crazy. If you want to be even crazier, you can screenshot it, put it on your story and tag us. You can tag the podcast at Attitudes with Andy or my personal Andy.Bentley_. And I'll see you guys next week for another episode. Bye.
Bye.